If you ask 1,500 CEOs about what is their biggest challenge in running their companies, most of them say it's the ever-increasing complexity and speed, and they compare running their companies to whitewater rafting. To give you some statistics, the average half-life of a company dropped from 30 years in 1984 to 5 years in 2014. That's speeding up by the factor 6. We know that 90% of the Fortune 500 companies from 1955 are not on the list in 2018. And we know in the next 10 years, 40% of all S&P 500 companies are expected to disappear from this list. So this is what disruption looks like. It's going to continue, and it means company leadership will be concerned with the current share price and the numbers in EBITDA and return on investments, etc. But it also means company leadership is literally about company survival. And this is a gentleman, Sir Charles Darwin, who knows a thing or two about survival. And what was his conclusion regarding species? So he concluded it's not the strongest of the species that survives, nor the most intelligent. It is the one most adaptable to change. And that is also true for the economy. Those industries, those companies will survive that will manage to adapt to the technology changes that we see and that we will be seeing in the next decade. And what helps companies to adapt to change, I think there's only one thing, it's innovation. And I'm not talking about improving little things here and there, what we call incremental innovation. I'm talking about completely new technology, product, market combinations, what we call disruptive innovation. And what helps companies to disrupt and innovate successfully? 3 quick suggestions from me. First, know the pain points of your industry and your company, and know particularly the pain points of your customers, users, and employees. Many unicorn firms were started based on the pain points of existing firms. Second, answer the question of questions. What is the question of questions? It's not who am I, not in this context. In this context, it's which valuable company has not been founded yet. And thirdly, you will have an easier time answering that question if you avoid surrounding yourself with any kind of monoculture in your company or your environment. So by the way, this is what monoculture on an agricultural field looks like. Monoculture in terms of people looks like this. And it happens, yeah, you get something like that when you hire like this. Take a moment to read that. Yeah. We all do it, but it leads to monoculture. And the problem, I think, is not that they all look similar or that they have the same age. The problem would be if they all have the same perspective, the same kind of thinking. Now, we could imagine that maybe this group of people sat together a couple of years ago and decided collectively that digitalization is just a hype. We'll just wait it out until it has passed. Now, you're laughing, but I've shown this slide before in the context of a large German company from the financial industry. And someone from the audience actually raised their hand and asked, Professor Welpe, how on earth did you get a picture from our supervisory board? Yeah. So they felt that really in their company there had been a lack of perspective. So who's missing? Do you have any idea who could bring some perspective, for example? Any ideas? Customers? I think this person. Or what about you guys? This is the DLD Singapore family and community. Surely we would bring multiple perspective thinking and different views, and it looks much better this way anyway, doesn't it? So that was a mistake companies made in 2015, groupthink mistake, digitalization, that's just a hype. What's the groupthink mistake in 2018? Yeah, very good. Blockchain is Bitcoin or blockchain is just a hype. Confusing the potential of distributed ledger with cryptocurrency and what's going on. Right, to paraphrase Jeffrey Immelt, the CEO of GE, one could say, well, you go to bed as a platform company and you think you're really innovative, and then you wake up as a blockchain company. So we wanted to get me and my colleagues wanted to understand what was going on, so we did a blockchain cross-country, cross-industry study. You can download it. So we looked at all the startups, venture capital finance startups in 4 different databases. And to give you just the main findings, we found in 2017 that the 2 biggest areas of venture capital funding are in finance and insurance and in information and communication. And it's also the highest number of startups operating in these 2 areas, information and communication and finance and insurance. Here you see our world map of blockchain startup density. The darker the color, the higher the density of the VC-financed startups. And we put this together here in this table. So you can see that these 29 countries make up 90% of the blockchain startups that are VC-financed. United States leading, United Kingdom, Canada, Netherlands, China. You see Singapore up there right before Germany. And then we looked into what kind of products and services these startups in the respective industries were developing. And you can see that in the finance and insurance industry, startups are developing blockchain-based financial exchanges and trading, blockchain-based payment processing, blockchain financial services, blockchain-based wallets, ATMs, infrastructure, and crowdfunding. In the information and communication industry, you see that the biggest number of startups is building blockchain-based infrastructure, blockchain-based wallets, blockchain-based social media content, which makes sense, as blockchain is called the trust machine, so media could use some trust these days, blockchain-based mining and visualization. Obviously, there will be winners and losers, and it's hard to say today who will be among them, but here are our thoughts. So we think any organization that uses blockchain internally is likely to win because you have potentially so much process improvement and can save on transaction costs. Any company or any individual who produces something original stands to win in a blockchain-based economy. So whether it's producers, value creators, license holders, manufacturers, musicians, artists, etc., if you do something original, you might be among the winners in this new economy. And of course, we'll see the rise of new intermediaries, maybe those that administer and control the blockchains. Who are potential losers? Well, the old and classic intermediaries, perhaps GAFA, banks, notaries, digital platform companies that were so successful in the past 10 years, they're being attacked by this development, and traders. So, 5 predictions for you on the future of blockchain. Prediction 1, blockchain will disintermediate and disrupt simple middleman business models. So see if your business is a simple middleman business model, you might want to look into blockchain more deeply. Prediction 2, blockchain will foster automated, decentralized financial services. Prediction 3, blockchain will enable decentralized marketplaces of professionals, thereby replacing organizations as we know them today. Prediction 4, it'll be blockchain that will really power the sharing economy, making it possible to use every device you see that's currently unoccupied for a fee. It'll also power machine-to-machine payments, so somehow the drones that are going to deliver the food need to find a way to pay each other, or your charging station that you provide, that needs to be arranged, so blockchain is going to be the base for that. And prediction 5, blockchain will unfold its full potential wholly only with the increasing technology convergence of the big technology trends that we see, Internet of Things, process automation, machine learning, cloud computing, etc. Anyway, the time to really get into blockchain and see how your company can generate use cases in blockchain was actually yesterday. If you haven't done it yet, start it now, because as with the first wave of digitalization, here again, it will be about standard setting, it will be about communities, it will be about who controls the largest network, etc. Now, the 1,500 CEOs that I mentioned in the beginning also had something to say about the main requirements for leaders in the future. So they asked the CEOs what they think leaders in the future need to be able to do. And number one, and that surprised me when I first saw it, is creativity. So the CEOs say, of all things, leaders need to be creative or understand creativity enough to be able to organize for it. Not organize it, because you can't organize creativity. You can only organize the condition, the environment that makes it more likely. Number two is integrity, which is a trust dimension, and three, global thinking is quite plausible, I think. And we see this result again and again. This year's World Economic Forum also said that the most important skills in 2020 would be complex problem solving, critical thinking, and creativity. And so thus the P21 framework for learning says the 4 C's for the 21st century are cooperation, curiosity, critical thinking, and creativity. And it makes sense from a research perspective as well. On a macroeconomic country level, we see a nice correlation between the economic output of countries and their creativity index. You see Singapore right up there, and Germany and the US closely behind. We see the same correlation on a company level. So there's a strong link between creativity and innovation. And that link, the more creative your organization is, the people in it are, and the more innovation you get, that link is particularly strong for large firms, if you're dealing with any kind of process innovation, and if you're in the high-tech industry. So I think the financial industry should be really interested in that relationship. Now, if you're now all excited, thinking about creativity and innovation, and you want to go and implement that in your company, I want to bring to your attention that maybe if you also need to disrupt your internal organizational systems. Because what do key performance indicators look like? How do we evaluate, compensate, promote people? Yeah, we use KPIs to do that. But when it comes to innovation and creativity, how should that be done? Now, I can't put an entrepreneurial creative idea on a slide, but I can put this painting on a slide. I think it is a creative painting. And how to evaluate creative achievements in organizations correctly would be a different talk I can't give today. But what I can tell you is that you should not evaluate creativity in the classic traditional way that management accounting would do it, because then it would look like this. And that would take away the whole point of creative performance and achievement. I'm Isabell Welpe. I'm from Munich University of Technology, and I hope to see you at many DLDs in the future.